Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Long time no speak or hear. Sorry about that. Just finished my first ever finals week, so finishing projects was kind of more important than making videos, but we're back on that rise and grind. You know how it is. Since I now officially have a semester of art school under my belt, I wanted to talk about the burning question a lot of seniors in high school, or presumably you, if you're watching this video, might have. Should I go to art school, and is it worth it? Let me just get some quick biases out of the way before we fully get into the video. One, I'm currently enrolled in art school, so while this might appear to already answer the question, I'm gonna try to be as neutral as possible because I understand that not everyone is like me, of course. I'm only a freshman in art school, so my views might change by the time I graduate in a couple years, or even just after a couple semesters have passed. And I don't go to every single art school at the same time, obviously. So I think the art school experience, while it is pretty general, there are some specifics that might change the worthiness of it for you. So just kind of putting in the time to research might help alleviate some of the specific issues that differ from one school to another. So now that that's out of the way, let's get into the nitty-gritty. I'm gonna list some cons first to get the negative stuff out of the way, then some pros, and then finish with an overall answer. So here are some cons. The price. There's no real way to deny it. Art school is incredibly expensive. Even if you don't go to the top schools in the country and still get scholarships, the price point is still quite high for something like learning art. The job instability. While the goal of getting a job in the arts is one for every art student, the reality is that many people who graduate from art school may not be able to get a job in their field. This obviously isn't the case for everybody, as I'll discuss later, but this just had to be addressed for fairness. The environment. This definitely depends on what art school you attend, but some environments can be really toxic and cutthroat. This usually happens at larger art schools with bigger reputations, since everybody is essentially competing against one another for the best job opportunities after graduating. This can lead to a lack of community, so I've heard. After all, I don't go to a large art school necessarily. The stress. Art school could be incredibly stressful with the amount of hours you need to put into assignments outside of class. I know many people who have pulled all-nighters for projects, and we don't even go to a school with an incredibly stressful freshman year. A lot of the philosophy behind the stress in freshman year is to break and rebuild students into functioning artists, so take that from that what you will. And the internet. Since the internet has so many different resources for art, whether it be tutorials or art concepts or anything in between, the argument could be made that you could simply teach yourself for a fraction of the price. I'll be addressing that a bit later, but the amount of resources for those wanting to learn art is vast on the World Wide Web. So with those cons in mind, let's talk about the pros now. The faculty. There are so many teachers working in art school that are successful outside of their role as a teacher. And honestly, some of the teachers that I have right now are the best teachers I've ever had. I'll name drop one. My man, Philip Brew, is an incredible painter. I had him as a teacher for Foundations of Painting, and he's genuinely like one of the best teachers I've ever had. And if I did not go to an art school, I would never have met him, and I don't think I would be as successful of an artist as I am now that I've had a class with him. This kind of point about faculty is important because they know how to be successful artists in the real world and can pass that working functional knowledge onto you. This isn't to say that people who upload resources on the internet for art aren't successful, but there's an incredible value in having faculty you can use as resources, both in answering questions and making connections with other artists. Speaking of that, the networking. I think networking is a bit of an overused term when talking about art school, but I think it's for good reason. Art schools allow you to connect with so many artists, whether that be other students, faculty, or other artists through events connected to your school. In order to get your name out into the art universe, you need to talk to other artists. By going to art school, you become familiar with making these connections much more easily versus if you didn't. The experimentation. Art school forces you out of your comfort zone, especially in freshman year. While this may not seem like a positive thing to some, after all, you might be certain as to what you want to do with your art, the experimentation not only exposes you to different techniques and mediums, but also strengthens the practices you already do. If you were to try to self-educate yourself alone with no outside requirements, chances are that you may fall into certain routines, leading you to stagnating in your art. With art school forcing you to think outside the box or approach pieces differently, you learn a lot more in the process. Unless you're incredibly committed and headstrong, the external push from professors is incredibly valuable in your artistic practice. The pace. Again, focusing on art school versus self-teaching, the pace at an art school is incredibly rigorous. While this can get exhausting, particularly toward the end of the semester, the pace makes it so that you're learning new stuff all the time. I can easily say that I and other students around me have learned and improved a lot over the course of just a couple months. If you were to try and teach this to yourself, you may not move at the same pace and therefore may not learn or improve at the same rate as you would in art school. The opportunities. Art school provides so many opportunities, both in terms of creating art and work for their students. For example, I know personally with my school, they have a whole department committed to finding internships, freelancing, part-time and full-time jobs for their students. I'm sure other art schools have similar functions too. In terms of creating art schools allow opportunity for both trying new things and honing your craft throughout your 4 years there. These opportunities are amazing because it allows you to have a certain idea as to what you want to do and be able to immediately do those things through job opportunities as well. And lastly, the community. Despite some art schools having a competitive environment, as I previously mentioned, having a community of other art students doing the same thing as you is essential in growing as an artist. This is important because with others going through the same assignments and classes as you can bounce ideas off of others and really foster a lot of creativity. Plus, with critiques happening frequently, you're able to learn from unsuccessful moments and really improve. I'm going to talk about critiques in another video though, so I'll keep it brief for now. While you can find other communities of artists to experience these same things with, art school is built upon this idea of community, so these benefits are inherently part of the experience. So, in conclusion, is art school worth it? I would personally say yes, because it provides so many valuable experiences in such an effective way. However, it's up to you to decide if it's the right fit for you. If you're still hesitant on the idea of art school, maybe you're in high school trying to figure out what you want to do once you graduate, let me just say this. Art school will always be there. You don't have to worry about it crumbling away. People will always be trying to get a higher education. So if art school doesn't sound like something you want to do right out of high school, then don't. Revisit it after you had some real world experiences or after you can actually practically afford it. There's nothing wrong with going to art school once you're ready, no matter how long that takes. And if you think going to school for 4 years isn't practical for you, then try to attend some classes in your area or even online classes, even though they don't provide the same space for actually doing the art, can be helpful. It's about what you yourself put into the situation. So if you're dedicated, you can be successful without getting a degree from an art school. Or if you want the opportunities in a congregated place, you can be successful and go to art school. So I think that's going to do it for this video, everybody. Let me know what you think in the comments. Do you think art school is worth it? You can do all those fun YouTube things, like, comment, subscribe, and if you don't want to miss my future uploads, turn on the notification bell. Let me know what you'd like to see in the future. Love you guys. See you next time.